there's been several changes with this new board. Following the Constitution vote last November, the board has been streamlined considerably, and instead of 26 separate committees and ad hoc committees that we had before, we're really down to 8 core committees. And the biggest change that I find that I think is going to really help the synagogue going forward relates to 2 of them. They're all obviously extremely important, but one big change within the Revenue and Development Committee is the formation of a pure fundraising committee. So not something that's related to events, but fundraising in particular. And fundraising can take on so many different forms. So whether it's doing things like our co-op campaign or major gifts and dedications, whether it's investment, whether it has something to do with planned giving. Now we've got a committee that's actually focused on that, and that will bode well for the future of the synagogue. And the other that I'm really excited about as well is what's called future planning. And future planning was set up so that we could have a focus committee dedicated to the development of a strategic plan, which would really help us formulate our vision and mission. And that would really be the benchmark to help us with our direction as we move forward over the next 3 to 5 years. And of course, when we did this, we didn't know about the pandemic, but it's even more important now. So I think with the streamlined board structure that we have, and especially the revision of these 2 particular committees, we're really setting ourselves up well for our future. We had put a lot of time into the planning back in mid-March, and it was really sad that it got canceled. But it might have been a blessing in disguise, because the event that we had just this past Sunday on June 7th was truly unique. My job was very simple, I thought. My job was just organizing the parking lot up at Beth David, and we only had 60 cars sign up at first. And I should say that I used to run the 2nd largest parking garage in Canada when I worked at the airport, right behind West Edmonton Mall. So I thought this would be a piece of cake, but I must say that when 100 cars showed up for a parking lot that only could accommodate maybe 60, I did feel that it was a little bit of a challenge that I wasn't expecting. But what came out of that whole experience for me was just how excited everybody was to get to see each other again. Even though we had to maintain our social distance, even though we were all staying in our cars, the mood in the parking lot was unbelievable. And I certainly didn't get a chance to see Rabbi Shield after the cars had left, because I was at the very end, of course. But what was really great about the entire experience was the ruach, the spirit, the happiness that everyone had seeing each other. And then, of course, what we saw with Rabbi Shield directly, and anyone that watched the CTV or CP24 news, just the pure celebration of a terrific match. So I look at this as one of my highlights after 2 years here at Adath Israel. On the launch of Shul Cloud, our new membership database. It just started, and I know it's a bit intimidating and overwhelming for all of us, but as months pass and our members start going into Shul Cloud and seeing just what kind of power they have to manage their own accounts, I think it'll be a revelation for them as well. We've just launched Hebrew School for next year, and of course we're doing it with a lot of questions about whether we're going to be able to go back into the classrooms or not. But with Principal Jack Lipinski and our new school committee chair, Ashley Waltman, on board, we really do have all of our scenarios set up, and we're quite excited for next year now. The big one that's coming up right now is live stream. So we spent a lot of time over the last few weeks soliciting quotes from different vendors, both here and in the US, and getting educated significantly on what live stream's all about. We thought it was just as simple as putting a camera somewhere in the sanctuary and pointing it. But there's a lot more to that. So we now have the vendor that we're going to use. We're going to be doing our very first test this Saturday. And after that, we're going to be a lot more sophisticated with the setup that we've actually agreed to. So we're very excited for all the things that have been happening during this pandemic behind the scenes. And a lot of that will start to come to fruition with the beginning of live stream. When the premier made the announcement on Monday, it took all of us by surprise, to be quite honest. We knew the time would be coming when places of worship would be able to open up. However, when we talk about funerals and weddings only allowed to have 10 people, and all of a sudden 30% of the sanctuary would be able to be filled, for us that's about 300 people. And intuitively it didn't feel right to the clergy and myself and our executive team. And so we, of course, sought out the advice of our medical advisory committee. And we've got some very distinguished doctors on this committee. We spent a significant amount of time with them over the last few days. So today we just released what our plan would be for this weekend. It is nothing short of just a trial with a few select group of people coming in, including medical advisory committee personnel, the clergy, myself, and some of our lay leaders. We will be live streaming for the first time, as I had mentioned earlier, but we really want to make sure we can do this right. And what I mean by that is everything from the pre-registration to the entry, to how we go into the sanctuary, to what we touch as far as any surfaces, whether it be our siddurim or chomesh, the seats, how we exit, what happens if someone has to use the washroom. So there's a huge amount of complexities involved here. And the last thing we wanted to do was put any of our members at risk by opening up. We all want to get back. And we know that so many of our members want to be able to come to shul, but we want to do it right and we want to do it safely so we protect our members. This weekend's going to be very huge for us. We'll do our trial. We'll see how it works. We'll make adjustments as we need. And then ideally, we'll be able to start rolling out more and more members being able to join us as we move forward. We cannot wait to see you again. We are getting very antsy, but we want to make sure we do this right. As far as when we're back to the office, we will take advice, of course, from Toronto Public Health and from a medical advisory committee. We're not quite there yet. As far as getting back into the shul, I know we're getting close to getting beyond our trial, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to start allowing more people to come and incrementally adding to that so we can be our chevra again. So thank you very much for listening and stay safe.